Funky Birds Radio. The best of soul, funk, and boogie.
All right, so get ready, because today we're diving deep into the music of Cherrelle.
Oh, yeah.
Talking like pure 80s R&B magic. You know, you might not immediately recognize her name.
Right.
But trust me, if you love that classic 80s sound, you've definitely grooved to her tunes before. We're digging into a really fascinating article from Funky Pearls. It's biographical.
It's really interesting. You know, one of the things about Cherrelle that's so fascinating is that she's got that classic origin story.
Yeah.
You know, starting as a background singer, honing her craft,
right,
and then stepping into the spotlight.
Yeah.
It's almost like a musical apprenticeship.
Totally. And it's this foundation, I think, that makes her voice so powerful. You know, she served her time.
Absolutely.
And then, bam, she lands a deal with Taboo Records. I mean, talk about landing in the big leagues.
Oh, yeah. Taboo Records was like a powerhouse back then.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of it as like the Motown of the 80s.
Yeah.
Launching some of the biggest names in R&B and funk. And this is where Cherrelle meets Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
This was a huge turning point. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, I mean, they shaped the sound of an entire generation.
They did, yeah.
And their fingerprints are all over Cherrelle's music. Her first album, Fragile, drops in 1984. And it features this song that, oh my gosh, I think everyone has heard this song. But you might not know it was originally a Cherrelle song.
Oh, are you talking about I Didn't Mean to Turn You On?
Yes.
Okay. So many people know that from the Robert Palmer version. But Cherrelle's original is where it's at.
It's pure gold.
It's pure 80s R&B gold.
Right. It's got that perfect blend of funk and R&B and synths. It just screams 80s. You know, it's like a time capsule in a song. And then in 1985, she teams up with Alexander O'Neal for the duet Saturday Love. Okay, if you were hitting the dance floor back then, this song was your jam.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a dance floor anthem, though. It really tapped into, I think, the whole romantic vibe of the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And it launched one of the most successful musical partnerships in R&B history.
Really?
Cherrelle and Alexander O'Neal. I mean, they had magic together.
Their voices just blended so well. And they had other amazing duets like Never Knew Love Like This. That really solidified their chemistry. Speaking of chemistry, her second album, High Priority, also from 1985. This is where things really take off for her. She scores hits like Artificial Heart and You Look Good to Me.
And her star power just explodes.
And you can't talk about High Priority without talking about Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis's production on it.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought a much more sophisticated sound to this album.
Right.
I almost feel like they were kind of looking ahead to the future of R&B.
Yeah.
Even kind of hinting at what would become new jack swing, which was this like fusion of R&B and hip hop and funk that became huge in the late 80s and 90s. Whoa, wait, hold on. I've heard of new jack swing, but I don't really know what it is. Can we unpack that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, totally. So imagine this. You got the smooth grooves of R&B, but then you add in these hard-hitting beats straight out of hip-hop.
Okay.
And then you sprinkle in some of that like funky energy. That's new jack swing in a nutshell. It was all about pushing boundaries and creating a new sound that was both familiar and totally fresh. And Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, with their work on High Priority, were really laying the groundwork for this whole new movement.
So they were kind of like musical pioneers, paving the way for artists like Bobby Brown and Teddy Riley.
Exactly. And Cherrelle, with her powerful vocals and her willingness to experiment, was right there with them, helping to shape this new sound. It's no wonder she's considered a new jack swing pioneer. And High Priority is a perfect example of how she blended those classic R&B vibes with these hints of what was to come.
Yeah.
So it's a fascinating evolution.
It's like they were creating a sonic bridge between the 80s and the 90s. So cool. But Cherrelle wasn't just about, up-tempo dance tracks. In 1988, she releases Affair, and it has this, oh my gosh, this heart-wrenching ballad called Everything I Miss at Home. This song went straight to #1 on the R&B charts.
Yeah, Everything I Miss at Home was such a departure from her earlier work.
Right.
But it showcased her incredible range as a vocalist.
Yes.
She could bring that same fire to a ballad as she did to a dance track.
Totally. It showed that she was, more than just a dance floor diva. She had depth, vulnerability.
Absolutely.
And it really resonated with listeners. I remember hearing that song for the first time, and it just it hit me right in the feels. It was just so relatable.
Yeah, it's amazing how music can do that.
I know.
Isn't it? It can transport you back to a specific time and place. and evoke such powerful emotions.
Yeah.
And Cherrelle had this gift for making you feel every word she's saying.
Okay, so we've talked about her hits, her powerhouse vocals, her collaborations, but what about her overall impact? The article refers to her as the Queen of R&B. What do you think about that title?
The Queen of R&B. That's a powerful title. And it speaks volumes about her influence and impact. And you have to remember, this was the 80s. We're talking about a time when some of the greatest female vocalists in history were dominating the charts. I mean, Whitney, Janet, Chaka Khan. For Cherrelle to earn that kind of recognition in such a competitive landscape is truly remarkable.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
It wasn't enough to just have a great voice back then. You had to have that it factor.
Oh, for sure.
And Cherrelle definitely had it. Okay, so the article also talks about Cherrelle's role as a pioneer of new jack swing. And earlier you gave us a great breakdown of what that sound is all about. Can we dig a little deeper into how she influenced that genre?
Absolutely. When you listen to High Priority, it's like you can hear the seeds of new jack swing being planted. For example, the song Artificial Heart is a perfect example. It's got those driving beats, those syncopated rhythms, and a more aggressive kind of urban edge compared to some of her earlier work. That's Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis at their most innovative, and they were absolutely pushing the boundaries of what R&B could sound like.
I can totally hear it now that you mention it. It's like they took the smoothness of classic R&B and then injected it with this raw kind of streetwise energy.
Right.
And Cherrelle's voice just soared over those tracks. She had the power
She did,
and the attitude to really pull it off.
Yeah, she wasn't afraid to experiment. And push her vocal boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's important to note, too, that new jack swing wasn't just like a one-person show.
Yeah, right.
It was a collaborative movement.
Okay.
You had Teddy Riley, Keith Sweat, Bobby Brown, Guy. All these artists were adding their own flavors to the mix.
Well, so it was like a musical melting pot.
Yeah, where everyone was bringing something new to the table.
Yeah.
And they created this amazing fusion of sounds.
Exactly. And that's what made it so exciting. It was like the next evolution of R&B. And Cherrelle was right there in the thick of it, helping to shape its direction.
It's so cool to think about how interconnected music is. Like this constant conversation between artists and genres.
Yeah.
With everyone kind of influencing each other.
Yeah.
And building upon what came before.
It's like a living, breathing organism that's constantly evolving.
I love that.
And sometimes you need those artists who are willing to be bold.
Yeah.
To take risks, to really push things forward. And Cherrelle was one of those artists.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, the Funky Pearls article doesn't go into much detail about this, but I did read somewhere that Cherrelle's music was sometimes considered controversial back in the 80s. What was it about her music that ruffled some feathers?
Yeah.
Well, you have to remember, the 80s was a time of major social and cultural shifts. There were a lot of conversations happening about sexuality.
Yeah.
Gender roles and the portrayal of women in music. And some critics felt that their Cherrelle songs, with their themes of desire and independence and sometimes even infidelity, were pushing the envelope a bit too far.
It's funny how what was considered controversial back then might seem pretty tame by today's standards.
It's true. But it just goes to show that Cherrelle was an artist who wasn't afraid to challenge norms and address topics that weren't always comfortable. She was starting conversations, even if those conversations weren't always easy to have.
It's like she was using her music as a platform to talk about real life experiences,
Yeah.
even if those experiences weren't always sugar-coated.
Exactly. And that kind of authenticity was refreshing. She wasn't afraid to be herself, to be honest and vulnerable in her music. And I think that's what resonated with so many listeners.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Her early days, her rise to fame, her signature sound, her influence on new jack swing, and even the controversy surrounding her music. It's clear that Cherrelle is an artist with a deep and layered legacy. But as we move toward wrapping up this deep dive, I'm curious, what do you think her most enduring legacy is? What do you think is the one thing that will ensure that Cherrelle's music continues to be relevant and appreciated for generations to come?
That's a great question. For me, I think it's her fearlessness. She wasn't afraid to experiment.
Yeah.
to push boundaries, to create music that was uniquely her own.
She was a true original. She had her own style, her own sound. And she wasn't afraid to let that shine through.
And you can't underestimate the impact she had on other artists, particularly women in R&B. She was a trailblazer,
Yeah.
a role model,
Yeah.
and her influence can still be felt today.
I agree with you there. She paved the way for so many artists who came after her. And for me, I think her most enduring legacy is the emotionality of her music. She had this incredible ability to convey like raw human emotion in a way that was both powerful and relatable.
Yes. It's like she was inviting you into her world, so sharing her joys and sorrows with you. Whether she was singing about love or heartbreak or empowerment, you could feel the depth of her experience in every note. And that's something that will always resonate with people, no matter what era they're from.
Well said. Her music has this timeless quality that just draws you in.
It does.
You can listen to it today, and it still feels like fresh and relevant, even though it was recorded decades ago. Okay, before we wrap things up, there's one thing I'm super curious about. The article mentions that Cherrelle was known for her live performances, and that she brought a whole other level of energy to the stage.
Oh, absolutely. Cherrelle was a force of nature on stage. She had this charisma and stage presence that was just electrifying.
So we've talked about her studio recordings, but what was it like to see Cherrelle live? What made her show so special?
Well, first of all, she had an incredible band. These were top-notch musicians who could really bring the funk and soul to her music. But it was more than that.
What do you mean?
It was like she transformed on stage. She commanded the audience's attention with her voice, her energy, her dance moves. She was just captivating.
So it was a full-on sensory experience.
It was like she was feeding off the energy of the crowd, and the crowd was feeding off her energy. It was a beautiful exchange.
I bet those shows were legendary.
They were. And there's something special about seeing an artist perform their music live.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting a glimpse into their soul.
Yeah.
And you're experiencing the music in its purest form.
Man, I wish we had a time machine so we could go back and experience one of those shows. It sounds like it was pure magic. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the incredible world of Cherrelle, what would you say is the one thing you hope listeners take away from this episode?
I hope they discover the sheer joy and brilliance of Cherrelle's music. She's an artist who deserves to be celebrated. And her music has this incredible ability to transport you to another time and place. It's feel-good music, but with a lot of heart and soul.
And she wasn't just about making people dance, although she definitely did that.
Oh, yeah.
But she also wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, to explore those deeper emotions in her music.
Right.
She was a multifaceted artist who wasn't afraid to push boundaries.
Exactly. She could bring the heat on a dance track like Saturday Love, but then turn around and break your heart with a ballad like Everything I Miss at Home.
Totally.
I mean, that's range.
For sure. She was a true artist in every sense of the word. So to our listeners out there, if you haven't already, do yourself a favor and add some Cherrelle to your playlist. You won't regret it.
And if you get a chance to see her perform live, jump at it. It's an experience you won't forget.
Seeing an artist like Cherrelle perform live is like taking a master class in stage presence and vocal power.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with a thought. Cherrelle's music reminds us that sometimes the most powerful love songs aren't just about finding love, but also about cherishing the love we already have and the love we might miss.
Beautiful. Cherrelle's music is a reminder to appreciate those connections, to savor those moments, and to never take love for granted.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you to groove to the sounds of Cherrelle. Until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep those musical adventures going.
They were, and there's something special about seeing an artist perform their music live.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting a glimpse into their soul, and you're experiencing the music in its purest form.
Man, I wish we had a time machine so we could go back and experience one of those shows. It sounds like it was pure magic. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the incredible world of Cherrelle, what would you say is the one thing you hope listeners take away from this episode?
I hope they discover the sheer joy and brilliance of Cherrelle's music. You know, she's an artist who deserves to be celebrated, and her music has this incredible ability to transport you to another time and place. You know, it's feel good music, but with a lot of heart and soul.
And she wasn't just about making people dance, although she definitely did that.
Oh yeah,
but she also wasn't afraid to be vulnerable. Who wasn't afraid to push boundaries.
Exactly. She could bring the heat on a dance track like Saturday Love, but then turn around and break your heart with a ballad like Everything I Miss at Home.
Totally.
I mean, that's range.
For sure. She was a true artist in every sense of the word. So to our listeners out there, if you haven't already, do yourself a favor and add some Cherrelle to your playlist. You won't regret it.
And if you get a chance to see her perform live,
Yeah.
how about it? It's an experience you won't forget.
Seeing an artist like Cherrelle perform live is like taking a master class.
Yeah.
In stage presence and vocal power. All right, it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with a thought. Cherrelle's music reminds us that sometimes the most powerful love songs aren't just about finding love, but also about cherishing the love we already have and the love we might miss.
Beautiful. Cherrelle's music is a reminder to appreciate those connections, to savor those moments, and to never take love for granted.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you to groove to the sounds of Cherrelle. Until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep those musical adventures going.
Yeah, I know, right? Like I said, man, I wish we had a time machine. We could go back and experience one of those shows firsthand.
Oh, yeah? It sounds incredible.
It was.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Cherrelle, what would you say is the one thing you hope listeners take away from this episode?
Well, you know, I hope they discover or rediscover the sheer joy and brilliance of Cherrelle's music. You know, she's an artist who really deserves to be celebrated. And her music has this incredible ability to transport you to another time and place.
Yeah.
It's feel-good music, but with a lot of heart and a lot of soul.
Yeah, and she wasn't just about, making people dance, although she definitely did that.
That's for sure.
But she also wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, to explore those deeper emotions in her music. She was a multifaceted artist who wasn't afraid to push those boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she could bring the heat on a dance track like Saturday Love, but then turn around and break your heart with a ballad like Everything I Miss at Home.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about range.
Right, for sure. She was a true artist in every sense of the word. Yeah. So to our listeners out there, if you haven't already, do yourself a favor and add some Cherrelle to your playlist. You will not regret it.
And if you get the chance to see her perform live, jump at it. It's an experience you won't soon forget.
That's a great tip. Seeing an artist like Cherrelle perform live, it's got to be like taking a master class in stage presence and vocal power. All right, it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with a thought. Cherrelle's music, I think, reminds us that sometimes the most powerful love songs aren't just about finding love, but also about cherishing the love that we already have and the love that we might miss.
Beautiful. Yeah, her music is a reminder to appreciate those connections, to savor those moments, and to never take love for granted.
Well said. And on that note, we will leave you to groove to the sounds of Cherrelle. Until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep those musical adventures going.